While working on my dissertation for my Ph.D., I experienced trauma. Well, for me, it was traumatic. When I did the education videos, and here's one of them, I needed to put this one off for a while because reliving this was something that I knew I needed to prepare myself for. Well, I'm ready now. So let's talk about it. A part of completing a PhD involves gathering data from participants. My data gathering involved online support groups for people with fibromyalgia. The first support group that allowed me to get participants from was a support group that I had been involved in the past. That group I thought would be very supportive and encouraging, but that ended up being far from the truth. The leader was condescending and unsupportive. I did get 3 participants from that group though, so not everyone from that group was unsupportive. But let me say this. Posts from members and support groups are always private and secure. For people with fibromyalgia and other types of illnesses, PTSD can be a big issue. So protecting the member's identity is necessary. And for a research study, that's an absolute. In some support groups, there's a lack of trust from outsiders. And since I hadn't participated in that group for several years, no one knew me. For all support groups, you have to get permission from the leaders to even consider asking for participants. For this specific group, I wasn't allowed to ask directly for participants in the group. There was a special section that I could post my request for participants. But when this group discovered that I was asking for participants from this group, first, this was posted in the group by a member. Quote, "Someone tried to recruit me for a PhD study. I am reporting them to blank, the support group leaders." I'm not going to mention the name of this support group. "Talk about ulterior motives," unquote. And because of that member, I was banned from the support group permanently. And the leaders didn't even ask me for my perspective, just "you're out." Then someone posted this. "I don't know what a PhD study is, but I wouldn't want to do it either." At that point, I realized why it was so difficult to get participants from this group. Mainly, they had a severe lack of trust from outsiders. And then this person explained in her post, in her opinion, what a PhD study is. Quote, "Doctoral thesis for a PhD," and then in parentheses, she writes doctorate, a misspelling of the word doctorate, degree, "requires a research project in most fields, and students love," all caps, "to come to blank," name of the group, I'm not going to mention the name of the group, "and recruit us because it's the cheap, lazy, and scientifically worst thing to do. But hey, why care about a solid research project if they can try to con people in pain and distress," unquote. When I read that, I can't tell you the amount of personal distress that gave me. Did they consider my distress? Did it matter to them that they were inflicting distress on someone else? Apparently not. But I'll continue. She continues to say, quote, conducting research over the internet is like inventing research. You cannot verify an expletive, a curse word thing about the participants. And so the results are invalid, unquote. Well, that's completely false. And obviously she doesn't know anything about a PhD study or a research study period. But I'll continue. Quote, OMG, don't get me wrong. People used to just invent results. But to think the internet is better than that, poof, shoddy, lazy, doesn't deserve the advanced degree, off my nerdy soapbox now, unquote. Okay, so the comment, you cannot verify an expletive thing about the participants, was interesting to me. Is she saying that people in research studies lie? In quantitative and qualitative studies alike, researchers always assume that their participants are telling the truth and talking from their own experience. It's called trust. There's that word again. From my perspective, my participants were awesome and the biggest blessing ever. So when that member in that group posted that about me, oh, I was disheartened. She didn't know my heart. I chose fibromyalgia to study because I wanted to enlighten people about fibromyalgia. And her response to me felt like a stab in the heart. Yeah, I'm a sensitive person, but who wouldn't be with that kind of nonsense spoken about them and research in general? My chair for my dissertation process told me not to worry about it. So how did I get through that? Time. Time heals the wounds and makes it less intense. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. The memory of it still stings a little, but not at all like it did in the beginning. I took a year off. I needed to. I think it, well, I know that it flared up my PTSD. Then when it was time to find another support group, that took me another year. Now you can hear why it took me 8.5 years to finish. Okay, I think I'm a little calmed down now. Sorry, I guess I got a little dramatic. In addition, gathering data from participants from my study involved online interviews. So some of the answers that I was given were also triggering for me. For example, one person said, and just this could be a triggering warning for you too, quote, for me, I didn't get myself diagnosed until I collapsed. My legs gave way underneath me. I was just leaning down to get a book from a bookshelf or something, and my legs, all my muscles in my legs just totally cramped up and gave way. And then I couldn't get myself up. My legs would just cramp up, and I had to crawl into the bedroom and pull myself up on the bed, unquote. Another participant said, quote, I occasionally post on there, meaning in the support group, with a big rant, maybe because I'm in a lot of pain and haven't been able to sleep and I'm in tears. And I need someone just to validate that so I'm not alone, unquote. And this one, quote, and I was under a huge amount of stress for the last 10 years of marriage. But I think the stress that I experienced, we were married 21 years, was enough to put me right over the edge, right into full-blown fibromyalgia, unquote. These comments were difficult to listen to. They were heartfelt, and I knew that I had to remain professional and stay on the subject matter while showing empathy. So that's what I did. But don't get me wrong, I learned a lot about myself. And I do believe that I grew from the experience, which is why I decided to put myself out there in these YouTube videos. My hope is that you will also grow from watching and listening to my videos. Now on the positive side, one participant stated this, quote, I thank you for offering this to us and that it will help your research and things like that are really good because there isn't enough known. And if I can tell my side of it, however it may be helpful, then it's good, unquote. I plan to share more about what I learned. Most of it just validated what we already know. I already knew about fibromyalgia. But for people without fibromyalgia, I thought this could be very enlightening. I hope you found this video helpful and you weren't triggered. I send you gentle hugs and support. Love you.